Alright, my name is Lauren Benjamin, and this is for Module 3. Question 1 asks us to describe our thoughts after watching the videos about how the internet has driven a change from Professor Wesch. And what was the primary messages from the videos, and can we relate to the messages, and what are the implications that the messages hold for the future of teachers, basically, and how we teach. I actually have kind of a unique perspective on this because I was able to take this anthropology class from Professor Wesch, and so we were able to actually, we didn't make the exact same video, but we made a video very similar to it and how the technology shapes classrooms and whatnot. I think that Professor Wesch's video is very eye-opening in the sense that we have become very much, like he says, multitaskers, in the sense that we're always on our phones, we're always on our laptops, anything, doing stuff, even when we are like in class or at the gym or eating. Like, we're always multitasking, it seems, just because we do have the technology with us. And I think that's important to recognize, and that's why he actually encourages the use of our computers in the classroom, because he realizes, like, it is a fact of life, but he always tries to keep us engaged on the board by having interactive measures through our computer. So, like, we have, like, he really likes a Google Doc, like, us constantly incorporating on it. So I think he's definitely kind of come up with a solution, because a teacher saying that there's no technology in a classroom is kind of unrealistic at this point, since we do teach so much on electronics. However, by utilizing the electronics, by making the collaborations or having activities online, it kind of helps combat it a little bit, because you're at least accepting of it and you're making them be able to use it, not do whatever they want on it. Describe your podcast you listen to. Question 2. Describe your podcast and what you listen to, and what are the ways that the 1.2 technologies like podcasting and so on and so forth, that how they can be useful in your classroom, and also, should social networking applications like Facebook or Instagram, YouTube be allowed? So the podcast I chose was from this Edu podcast, and I emphasized the teaching section, and I picked the podcast called 8 Things to Know About Middle Schoolers. And she automatically starts it off by saying, this is obviously not a cut and dry, like, this is not 8 things. Over her experience as a middle school teacher, this is what she has learned about middle schoolers. So the 8 things she says are: 1, that they care more about their peer opinions than anything else in the world. 2, they're horrified by what their body is doing at that time. 3, they trend to hyperbole everything. So if you said, her example is, if you say there's a spider in the classroom, they all freak out and they think it's like a huge tarantula or whatever. 4, they are mortified by public praise. 5, they cannot be trusted no matter what. 6, they realize you're human one moment, and then it's like, oops, nope, never mind. They're not human. They're the teacher. You can't talk to them. 7, they are pulling away from their parents and seeking another person to kind of do, since they are in the middle of figuring things out. And last but not least, I think she says that every teacher needs to remember, most importantly, is that they are still kids. They are not adults yet, like what they might think. They are still kids. And I like, she breaks down each point by giving not only what she means by each point, but then she gives us teachers, because most teachers are the ones that are going to be listening to it, ways to kind of combat it, and how to kind of acknowledge the things that they are going through and not, I guess, hurt them more. They're definitely, she's like, so like when it talks about the horrified by what their body's doing, she's like, if you see a kid being very adamant about not wanting to come up and give a presentation, think like, okay, maybe maybe this girl has started her monthly cycle. Maybe this boy is having a peak in his voice. She's like, acknowledge it and figure out ways to kind of combat it so they're not having to broadcast it to the world. As for the use of podcasts and like blogging in your classroom, I don't really know. I think podcasts could definitely be useful, because there's definitely like TED Talks, where I can automatically think of like a lot of really awesome, especially like science-based TED Talks that really get students that are younger interested in science and math. So I think those are good ways to get STEM kind of hyped up in interest. As for like blogging, honestly, I don't think blogging is that useful just because it requires them to like, I don't know, I personally think blogging is like a dying thing, so I don't think it will be useful in the classroom per se. Do we think that networking applications like YouTube, Instagram, all that should be allowed in the classroom? I think YouTube for sure should be allowed because there's really awesome teaching tools. Like there's Khan Academy, there's so many nowadays. So like, let's say your students are having a hard time grasping at the concept that you're teaching, you can find outside resources and maybe your students will be more receptive to those teachings. As for like Facebook and Instagram and Twitter, I see sometimes there can be usefulness in it, but other times there's not. So I'm thinking about past experience when I was in high school. My science teacher had us create an Instagram because when we all went to the zoo for our big environmental project, we had to use Instagram as our platform for taking pictures of the zoos and answering these very in-depth prompts that he gave us to ensure that we were actually going to the zoo to investigate animals, not just go there and have fun. So I think in that instance, Instagram was very useful because he was able to have us do our assignment, yet at the same time we were tasked with being in charge and left alone. However, every single day, I don't think Instagram would be useful. And then question 3 is, which cloud-based bookmarking tool did you utilize and what were your thoughts about it? I chose Diigo. It was the third option. I really liked it. I chose the free option. It was super easy to figure out how to insert my cloud-based, or not my cloud-based. It was super easy to insert my URL for my talk, and it was very straightforward. And I also really appreciated that the minute I signed up, they immediately did like this how-to intro, so I could really learn about it more. And I kind of wasn't just like taken to a page and had to figure it out on my own. So yeah, that's module 3. Thank you.